Hi everyone, Zach here. In this video we take a look at a brand new feature for cycles in Blender 2.8 called Cryptomatte. This feature is a huge time saver when it comes to compositing, since this allows us to quickly mask out certain areas of our rendering for quickly changing values like color, brightness and stuff like this without affecting the other areas of our image. So let's find out how this all works. Enjoy! So keep in mind, Blender 2.8 is still in alpha. To download the latest build, go to blender.org, click on this download button here, scroll down and go to the latest experimental builds, click on here, and then you can download the latest build for your operating system. So before we get started, a huge thank you to Lex Sokolowski from Chocofur.com for supporting this video here. Chocofur is probably the best place to get high quality Blender models online. And the best thing is you can save 25% on any order you're doing by using the coupon code ZEG25. That means you can even get the lifetime bundle with all models included, 25% off, or even get the upcoming interior visualization course for Blender 2.8 even cheaper. I mean, it's nearly half the price at the moment, so you can get it even cheaper. Grab it while it's hot. Okay, let's get started, guys. Alright, we will use this sheriff creature here I've created a while ago as example scene. And here everything is said and done. That means I just want to render this out and make some changes in the compositor. And this is where the Cryptomatte comes into play. So first of all, Cryptomatte currently only works in cycles. I'm not sure if this is working in Eevee in the future, but yeah, here we will use it for cycles. So make sure that in the render tab, render engine, cycles is enabled. I'm using a resolution of 1920 by 1920, and I'm using relatively low samples here to make the rendering a bit quicker. So in order to enable Cryptomatte, let's go over to the render layer tab. Let's enable denoising so that we don't have any noise left in our final rendering. And now let's go to the passes. And down here we find Cryptomatte. We have a few options here. Basically you can ignore these two options. These are quality options as far as I understand, but you can leave them as they are. What's important for us is object, material and asset. So basically Cryptomatte is creating masks we can use later on, and we can separate the mask by object. That means each individual object can be separated in the compositor later on, or by material. That means if the head, for example, and the vest is using the same material, these two objects are one mask later on. And we can separate them by asset, which basically means parented objects. So if you parent a bunch of objects, like for example up here, these objects are parented to the head, then this whole thing will be one mask later on. For this example here, we only use object and material. That means I enable both. And also I enable the Ambient Occlusion pass, which will render the Ambient Occlusion shadow separately. If you don't know what this is, you will see this later on, and this we can take into account while compositing. So now in order to use this, we have to render our image. So we go up here to render, render image, or press F12. So rendering is done. I'm not really sure why this mechanical foot is not showing up here, but it really doesn't matter. In Blender 2.8 we have this very nice workspaces up here, and you can see we have this workspace for compositing. Let's click on this, and here we can do our compositing in Blender. Since we are not creating an animation, we don't need the dope sheet editor down here. Let's move the cursor to the window border here, right click and join area, and left click down here to join this. And let's press T and N to hide the tool shelf and the sidebar. Now, in order to enable compositing, let's click on Use Nodes up here and also make sure that Backdrop is enabled. Now we have the render layers and the composite node. So, and here on the render layers node, we can see we have all these different outputs. And here we have the crypto object output and the crypto material output, and also the ambient occlusion output. To view these different outputs, you can press Ctrl, Shift and left click on this. And if you click and click, you cycle through all these different outputs. And here, for example, this one is Ambient Occlusion output. And you can see this viewer node was created in order to show this here in the background. You can zoom in and out the backdrop with V to zoom out and Alt V to zoom in. So, and if we take a look at the mattes here, the Cryptomatte, it looks weird. And in order to make this work, we have to add another node. So press Shift A, Matte, and use the Cryptomatte. And here we have 3 inputs. And here we basically need to input the 3 crypto objects if we want to use the object masking, or connect the 3 crypto materials if you want to use the material masking. So let's do this. I duplicate this and let's connect the crypto materials to this 3 down here so we can use both of them. What I also do is I plug in the image, that means our final rendering in here, so we have a better preview of what we are doing here. Now let's Control Shift left click on here, and you can see image and matte is basically nothing at the moment. But if we go into pick, we can see this colored image in the background. And as you can see, every object here has a different color, a different ID basically. And this is what this Cryptomatte is doing. It colorizes every separate object here in a different color, which we can pick. And now, for example, I want to add the body to the mask. All I need to do here is to click on Add, and with the eyedropper I click somewhere on the body. And now you can see this is a special body ID, and it will add it down here. If you want to add more, for example, the claws down here, simply click on this. Don't be confused, all the claws, also on the hands, are one object which are deformed by an armature modifier. So that's why they all have the same color, same as the teeth, for example. These are not individual objects, this is one object. So, and now if I Shift Control left click on this again, you can see this area is now masked out. And if I take a look in the matte output, you can see we have this black and white mask. Black means basically transparent and white means non-transparent. And the nice thing about the Cryptomatte is that the mask has anti-aliasing, so very smooth edges, and it also takes in account depth of field and motion blur, which is totally amazing and very useful for compositing. So, but what can we do with this mask now? Let's, for example, change the color of the body. So I press Shift A, color, and add a mix node, and Shift A, color, I add a hue saturation value node. So first of all, let's put this into the hue saturation value node, the image output, that means our final rendering. And here I can, for example, change the hue. But now, as you can see, it will change it from the whole image. But I only want, for example, the body to be green, but the rest should stay as it is. And here we can use our created mask. And in order to mix the new color with the original, I use this mix node. And here I can plug in the matte, and then you can see that the factor value will disappear. So that means instead of this 0 to 1 value, it uses this mask here. And this mask basically means that it will display input 1 onto the black areas and input 2 on the white areas. That means the green, the changed color version, I plug into the second input, and the original color I plug into the upper input here, the first one. And now let's take a look at this. And as you can see, we are using this mask to mask out the body. And now I can make changes here as I like. For example, it should be maybe a bit more reddish. And this easy, I can change things here in compositing without changing materials and re-render the whole stuff. It's much faster to adjust a lot of things. Changing color is certainly only one thing you can do. There's many things you can do by masking out certain areas. So now let's also change the color, for example, of the golden material here. But the gold material is applied on different objects. And this is where the crypto material comes into play, because if we take a look into the pick, now this is separated by material, and all the golden objects here are using the same material. So let's add this to our mask, Now let's take a look. As you can see, this is now masked out. And now let's add this to our image. So let's simply duplicate the mix node, use the matte as mix factor, this color here as input 1, basically the original color. And then let's quickly simply duplicate the hue saturation node and plug this into here and then over here. Now let's set the hue back to 0.5 and let's reduce the saturation to 0, for example. That means we don't have any color in here left, and now it looks like we have a silver material. With the value you can, for example, change the brightness. So and the last thing I want to do is I want to add the ambient occlusion, but only to the body, not to the rest of the creature. So, and in order to do this, again, I duplicate this mix node, use our body mask, this one here, plug it into the mix factor, then input 1 will be our color here, and input 2 will be ambient occlusion, this one over here. But if I now show you how this looks like, you can see now the color of the body was replaced by the ambient occlusion, but we only want to mix the shadow into the color and not replace the color completely. So we have to change the mix blend type to multiply, which basically means it will remove all the white parts and only keeps the dark shadows here. So in order to show you better that it only affects the body here, let's add a very simple converter, color ramp to the ambient occlusion. So if I drop this onto the line here, it will be automatically connected. And if I now move this around, you can see that the shadow is now changing, but only on the body. So, and now use your imagination on how you can use this. You can, for example, change the color of the eyes. You can blur out different areas if you like. But yeah, these are just a very few examples on how you can use this. So, how can you save this image after changing all this stuff? First of all, I connect the last node with the composite node. Let's split our window here, right click, split area, and up here let's choose the UV image editor, and up here let's use the render result. And if this doesn't show the result you have over here, simply pull out this noodle and plug this in again into the compositor, and then this will update over here. And then you can simply press Shift S or click on Image, Save As. Then down here you can choose the file format. Let's keep PNG, RGBA with alpha channel with transparent background, 16-bit color depth. Let's choose a folder. Let's call this Sheriff Test and then save as image. So if you do your compositing, for example, in Photoshop or other image manipulation programs, you can also create your different mask, for example, like this one here. I now connect this mask with the viewer node, and then we easily can use the viewer node here and simply save this image. Yeah, this is one very simple way. So you can, for example, add different stuff. Let's, for example, add the head here. Now this is also included in the mask, and then you can save this again. So you can save different parts if you need different masks later on. Unfortunately, I'm not dive too deep into this topic. I'm not sure if there's a different way, but certainly you can also export this image here. So you can color pick different areas, but this layer unfortunately does not have any anti-aliasing. As you can see, you have this not so nice looking edges. So, but yeah, feel free to play around with the Cryptomatte. I hope you now have a good understanding on how to use this. Yeah guys, if I have missed anything important related to the Cryptomatte, let us know in the comment section below so that everyone can benefit from this. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you love my videos, subscribe to this channel and click on the little bell icon under this video to enable notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Yeah, if you really love my content and want to support me, you can do it over at Patreon. Check the link in the video description, and don't forget to grab the 25% off on any purchase you're doing at chocofur.com. Thanks a lot for watching guys, see you in the next video, goodbye.